Welcome back to this environmental series on CNC3. My guests are engineers Devinand Ragbir and Ramdeo Maharaj. Mr. Maharaj, you probably need to get several government agencies to buy into going green, such as Town and Country Planning and the Ministry of Local Government, as well as the EPA. Have you had their support?
Yes, we have invited, as a matter of fact, there's a launch of the Trinidad and Tobago Green Building Council next week, Thursday, the 23rd. And all these organizations have been invited. We've met with some of them. We've tried to set up a meeting with WASA, but we haven't gotten that offers yet. But we intend to meet with all these organizations after the launch on next week, Thursday, because it is important that we get buy-in from especially the environmental EMA, WASA, TNTech. TNTech is very supportive. As a matter of fact, they have decided to help us out in the launch.
Okay. And Mr. Ragbir, what would an urban planner at Town and Country Planning need to look at for siting housing developments and industrial sites, if you want to go green, that is?
Well, one of the first things in green building concept is sustainable sites. Before you go and try to develop a site, you have to appreciate the ecosystem in which the site you have selected. You need to look at all the parameters that when your construction starts, it doesn't affect, it doesn't destroy wildlife, it doesn't have any adverse effect on the environment. You have to look at sedimentation from the construction. Where does it go? Will it go down the road, block some drains and create floods? That's one aspect. Another aspect is that on a sustainable site, you have to select an area where there is mass transit. So therefore, when you select this area, you won't have the occupants of the building coming in with 100 different vehicles. So if you have a mass transit system very close by, you will have less vehicles coming in there. In that way, you lower the carbon footprint associated with the transportation of your occupants in your building.
Let me ask you something. You both are engineers, qualified engineers. What would happen if we continued building the way we do without any regard for your green building strategy?
This is where the idea of sustainability comes in. Sustainability means that you use just the optimum amount of resources while leaving the rest for future generations to come. You do not compromise the future generations. If we do not do that, what could happen to the future generations? They will have nothing.
But businessmen these days and contractors and builders, that seems to be the last thing on their minds. Just look at the quarrying that's been taking place in this country. And I don't know if there's very many government legal controls on quarrying, but it looks terrible.
Well, this is why we've invited one of the major quarrying people to our launch next week, Thursday, and they will be aware of what all this means to them in terms of maintaining the environment and the impact that they are having on the environment. Okay. Because there is a triple bottom line to the green building. It's not only economic, it's economic, the environment, and the social sustainability of the...
Well, you know, in previous programs, we saw that with development over the years, especially during the rainy season, there's increased flooding due to the sediment and the storm water runoff. What can we do about that? Will green building help this?
There are a number of strategies associated with management of stormwater. One of them is actually collecting the stormwater and utilizing it for your landscaping. Secondly, you could have storage tanks, store it, and in the dry season, you can utilize that water. There are other things like retention ponds, detention ponds, whereby you can hold the water and release it as other levels of water dissipate.
Okay. Well, you know, with building materials, I'm no expert, but I imagine that you use steel, concrete, or clay blocks and galvanized sheeting for our houses and glass for office buildings. Can these materials be reused, recycled?
One of the cornerstones of green building is reduce, reuse, and recycle. The steel can be recycled. We can send it down to the steel mill and get that recycled. The other stuff, there's not much recycling that we can do right now in Trinidad. But hopefully with the launch of our Green Building Council and with the Educational Trust, we will be able to do something in the future.
So what materials should we use if we want to go green? What should we avoid, like the plague?
There's nothing offhand at this point in time.
Well, green building concepts, as I said, it takes into consideration all the materials that you're bringing into the building, and it evaluates the carbon footprint associated with it. Carbon footprint is a measurement of all the greenhouse gases associated with bringing a product into its market. So when you look at a building, one of the green initiatives is that you try to secure the materials that is in close proximity to the building. So therefore, you're reducing transportation to that building. So if you have wood, if you're utilizing wood on your building, you try to secure it closely. So like in Trinidad, you take it from Guyana rather than you go down to the States or bring it out from Canada. The same thing for steel, same thing for concrete. And then after, when it's finished use on the building, for example, at the deconstruction phase, I mean, concrete is a thing that could be mashed up, recycled into blocks. It could be used as fill in other areas for other development. One thing that we promote in green building is that also reuse of the building. If you have an existing structure that has all the main infrastructure in it already, like the electrical, the water, the sewer, you utilize the building for another purpose.
Let me ask you this. Who do you think is going to support you the most in this effort, and who do you think is going to hate what you're doing?
I think there's nobody who's going to hate us because it's a win-win situation for everybody, for the architects, for the developers, for the government. So it's a win-win. Everybody will win because the bottom line, as we said, is not just economic, but it sustains the environment and has a social responsibility that goes with it.
I think in Trinidad, some of the frustration is that, we'd love to talk about these things, but at the end of the day, we don't really see much action. Do you have a lot of support? Is it actually happening? What percentage of our buildings or the buildings coming up, say in the next 3 years, are going to be green?
It all depends on the designers, the consultants. Once they are educated, once people have become more aware of this green building concept, it will be incorporated in buildings. What we have to do is ensure there are some parameters and there's a framework within which we can measure the greenness of buildings, and this is where probably the government comes in, or we ourselves might be able to develop such parameters with the help of the government.
But how many people have gone green here in terms of building?
Well, I know of one structure up in UAE that went green. But again, you see, we don't have the framework, we don't have the database for collecting the information on green. It all depends on the individuals who are involved in it, and this is why we are trying to get this framework and get this organization going so that we can collect all the necessary data to show, yes, that this building is a greener building than this one.
And you're getting government support for that, are you?
Well, we're trying to get the government, the launch, we have invited one of the ministers to be present at the launch and to bring,
Well, one of the good things with us is that our group consists of most of the professionals within Trinidad and Tobago. That's the designers, the architects, the engineers, the mechanical, electrical engineers, the planners. So we have a core group of multidisciplinary professionals who actually do all the designs for all these buildings in Trinidad. So if we get together, right, and we promote this green culture and push for green designs, I'm sure we'll be able to get the support of the government. I mean, the government have embarked on a number of initiatives. In fact, over the last couple of years, most of the buildings that has been constructed have some of the green initiatives in it. For example, like double glazing, they have better AC units that employ green technology. But the problem in Trinidad is that we have it, but we're not maintaining it properly, and we're not adopting the conservative culture, which we need to. We could have the greenest building here, and it will fail in a couple months' time because of our culture.